Jared Poland, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and I'm here with something new. I don't even know what to call it, but I'm taking a bunch of photos from the weekend section for, window light, and I am doing pretty much a critique. They're images that I think are close or could be taken to the next level, or I see things in there that I just want to talk about that could be worked on, that if tweaked a little bit would take the images to the next level. So this is something new. I'll try to do this each week as the photos come in. I do from time to time just comment back to people in the forum, privately send them a message, just giving them some feedback or some pointers or some congrats on some nice photos. So I've picked a handful. I think there's about 8 where we're going to go through and just look at and see what I think we could do better. The reason I picked this one, no other reason other than I was like, hey, it's Serge Tankian. And I was like, cool. So there's not much to say about it. I just wanted to point this one out, and that really was it. This one I wanted to point out because, well, I mean, it looks like Britney Spears, but that's beside the point. To me, it's over-processed. It's a nice portrait, it's over-processed, and it's tilted like this. And I just cracked my neck. And I'm not a big fan of photos where you go like this. One, look at the background. It is tilted this way. All the horizons go like this. Everything is running downhill. I've seen where wedding photographers want to get the bride, who's 5'1", on the same level as a 6'2" groom. So it ends up their heads may be even, and then you look at the horizon in the background, and it's on a slope like this. And to me, I mean, look, if she was really tilted this way, her earrings would then be hitting her face. This is what I go by. If a photo needs to be hit on an angle like this, then it's probably not strong enough to stand on its own. If you need to, angle a photo to give it interest, then the photo probably isn't strong enough. And I think that this photo is strong enough to stand on its own and doesn't need this extreme tilted angle. That, and I think it's too far pulled back on the clarity slider. It's just too smooth. It's too not realistic looking in my mind. But if that was changed and the angle was straight on, I think this would be a much better photo. So let's, the processing in terms of the color, I'm fine with. I just think it needs to be pulled back, throw that clarity back in there, make it look more realistic, and go from there. The next one I picked was, this was shot, I believe, with a D5000. And the reason I picked this out is, I think it was the first time the photographer was just shooting anything pretty much and was in sports mode. Now, we can see that the building's in focus and the dog isn't in focus. One, this is shot way too tight. Especially if the dog is flying through the air, you probably want to show what the dog's jumping into to give it some interest. I can't think of the right word. But what's going on here is in sports mode, the camera is putting the aperture, I believe it was a 55 to 200. It's making this aperture at like f11, f16. It's way too much. This is why if you're shooting sports or you're shooting things outdoors, I wouldn't set it to the sports mode. At this point, I would go into aperture priority, set it to the lowest aperture, and this background should blow out. I guess if the dog was in focus, then the building wouldn't be in as much focus as the dog, but in this case it was missed, probably because it was on autofocus, or maybe actually not, when I say autofocus, I mean autofocus, where it's at auto A mode. Instead of, this shouldn't be single, this should be continuous, where you should track the dog and go from there. So it's probably in the wrong setting, and this is just a prime example that you want to try to keep your aperture as low as possible, even with the kit lenses. That, and when it gets to processing, it needs to be pumped up a lot because it is pretty much flat. All right, I sent this photographer a personal message because I thought this photo was close, and I wanted to point out what I think would make this photo take it to the next level. It's not that the photo's great, the processing's great, the lighting coming in through the window's great. Her daughter's watching TV. The pointers that I gave were fill the frame a little more, and if you could get your daughter to give you if you could capture her attention and she's going to look right at the camera and you get the eyes and they're really big in the frame, that's what's going to take the photo from this, which is a nice candid shot, to a really killer shot if the eyes are just meeting you right into the camera. It's going to give you an interest to tie you right into the image a little more. So the recommendation was see if you could shoot a little tighter and then try to get the eyes coming right at the camera. This shot, I was close to picking for the top 5, but what I felt was that it needs to be more straight on. I like it. I like the processing. It is a little on the harsh side in terms of contrast. Well, not contrast, but in terms of clarity. But, and there's a ton of noise and grain in this thing. Ton of noise. I don't know why. But the settings, I don't know if the settings were there. I would like, when you do shots of buildings like this, you try to want to keep them symmetric. Even left to right, even left to right would make it better. Shooting straight up. It's close. It's just that the slight angles are throwing me off a little bit, and I think that it would be much stronger if everything was even and it was just lined up with the building properly. But other than that, it's really, 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 really close. The reason I selected this dog image, and it looks like it's cropped also, because it's not, it looks like a square, is it's the paws. The paws were cut off. Either come in much tighter on the face, or a lower angle so you can get the paws in there. But again, it's like cutting off hands. You're cutting off the paws right here, and it kind of distracts a little bit in my mind. So I think if you came at a lower angle and didn't have all the paws in there and cut them off, hello mouse, where are you? Cut the dog's body off around here, it may have been stronger. So a little lower angle. I mean, I love the eyes coming up, but maybe just either shooting a little tighter, so not to leave, cut the paws off right here at the end, or a little further back would have made this, just that little thing would have taken it to the next level. And I believe this is the last photo. When I first saw this, I had to zoom in. I was like, why is there a kid in the window? And this was a close one to pick for the top 5, but it was just thrown off by this beer mug thing right here. Maybe what I was thinking is a different angle, shot tighter on the window. I know this was shot with a 70 to 200, so I don't know how much zoom it was in because I looked in the file for the details, but it wasn't there. I just find it interesting that there's a mannequin dressed like this. I guess I don't know what it is, but dressed that way. If it was a little tighter without this beer thing in the way, so maybe shifting over to the right to shoot it on a slight angle. So filling the frame from here down would have made it interesting. Like, I would like to see it like that more so than this. I find this interesting, but I find the beer mug distracting, and that's really it. I would like to see in the future taking it to the other side, slightly shifting, filling the frame more top to bottom with the natural frame of the window, and that, just weird mannequin would have been really cool. And then we're back to Serge Tankian. So I hope this helps out. I mean, this is what's going through my mind as I critique this stuff. When I'm trying to pick a top 5, I want to give some feedback back to some of the photos so that you can see and get a feel for little things that you can do to take the pictures to the next level, not just to be picked for a top 5, but just to take the pictures to the next level, because that to me is important for everybody to be really happy with the shots and to see what the corrective criticism is and go from there. So if you like this, leave a comment below. I'll try to tighten it up in terms of, talking too much and whatnot as I go on, but leave some feedback. What do you think of this? Do you like hearing this about other people's work and possibly yours? I hope it helps. Jared Poland, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.